Hello, my name is Marcin Łunkiewicz and I'm honored to open the second event organized by the Polish chapter of the VRARA Association. Today we are going to talk about storytelling, extremely important subject that is helping to share the knowledge and build communities. Today you will hear the presentations from four different speakers, starting with Brendan Ciecko, CEO and founder of Cusion. Brendan was also recognized by the Rolling Stone and the Forbes magazines as an entrepreneur and a technology guy. After Brendan, you will hear the presentation from Marcin Łunkiewicz. And Marcin Łunkiewicz is running the company called Mimo, and he was involved in the Oscar-winning productions in the past. He will share with you a lot of insights and his knowledge about the way the storytelling is used in the film industry. After Marcin, you will hear presentation from two very creative girls, Marta Nawrot and Jagoda Wójtowicz, who are going to tell you more about the artistic side of immersive technologies and the way they can tell the story. And last but not least, you will hear the presentation from Wróbel. He's, apart from being president of the Polish chapter of the VRARA Association, he's also running his own company called Verb. And he will tell you more about the virtual being and the way they are used right now and the future that is ahead of them. So without further ado, let's start the event. But first, let me invite Chris for a second to tell you a bit more about the way the AR/VR Association works. So let me grab my camera and talk to Chris. Okay, Chris, so the stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to meet you today. So I'm Chris, and I'm a chapter president for VRARA Association Poland. And the VRARA Association is a global community with more than 4,000 members already. We have big companies like Microsoft, Google, Unity, also on board. And there are over more than 70 chapters all around the world. And our chapter's goal is to foster the collaboration between VR/AR specialists, startups, companies, large and small, and global community. So we create those networking opportunities for all of you so you can create long-lasting connections. And so if you are VR/AR specialists, do not hesitate to contact any one of us. Besides me, there is Marcin, Camila, and Kuba. So reach out to us if you are interested. But now it's time for the main event. So Brendan is the first speaker. So the stage is yours.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me, Marcin. Can you just confirm that you can see my screen and that you can hear me loud and clear?
Yes, everything is visible and we can hear you loud and clear.
Excellent, excellent. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Brendan Ciecko. Cześć, dzień dobry. Very nice to meet everybody. I am the founder and CEO of a company in Boston called Cusion. And for the last couple of years, we've been working at the intersection of art, technology, culture, and storytelling. Today, I'm excited to share a little bit about some of the work that we've been doing, specifically in the area of augmented reality. But if we do have time, happy to share a little bit more about some research that we've been doing into the area of virtual reality as well. Before I jumped into the museum and cultural sector, I had a decade-long career in the music industry, designing and developing and helping pop stars and rock stars like Mick Jagger, Katy Perry, and Lenny Kravitz emerge on the web and tell their story. And as my career started to evolve, I found that my passion for art and culture really started to evolve. And so I shift gears to dedicating my energy and my being to helping museums and cultural institutions of every shape and size succeed in the digital age. And to do that, there are a number of technological tools that are required to certainly progress and advance and make a splash. Today, we help hundreds of museums and cultural institutions around the globe leverage mobile technology, incorporate augmented reality, and other innovations. And one quote that's always inspired me is one by the famous venture capitalist Mark Andreessen of Andreessen Horowitz. That is, software is eating the world. It's disrupting every single space around us. And no industry or sector is immune to that innovation, is immune to that disruption. And I like to think that if software is eating the world, that culture is feeding the world. And at the intersection of technology and culture, we have this opportunity to inspire, to spark new ideas, to spur imagination and creativity. And really excited to talk a little bit about the work that we've been doing there, because ultimately we see museums as these sacred places, the underpin of culture and society. And when we look at them, we also don't want to look at them as these, perfectly formal places that are kind of blocking out the world around them. So we very much see museums as the sandbox for technology, artists, creatives, and so on to experiment in. So talking a little bit about AR in the museum sector, some of this is probably going to be a little bit redundant, but as the first iterations of AR in the museum and cultural space to help tell the story was really to overlay hotspots onto paintings so that a curator or a docent can provide more contextual information down to the brushstroke or down to specific points in a guided viewing capacity. So that's kind of like, step one or phase one. And then something interesting started to happen where people kind of mixing entertainment and education into two wanted to find a way to bring these artworks to life by reanimating them, by bringing, a 17th century portrait to life using, advanced 3D modeling, giving a contemporary or relevant narrative and voice to the piece to make it that much more appealing, that much more alive in the in the century that we're living in the era that we are in today, where we need that little extra entertainment piece. And then kind of on the fundamental infrastructure operational side, AR has also been used as a guiding tool to get me from point A to point B from a wayfinding perspective. But jumping into some of our projects today, I'm excited to talk a little bit about a number of different projects that we've been involved in that involve interaction with contemporary living artists today, as well as historical artists and a wide range. So the first, one of the first AR projects that we had the great honor of working on was with the Perez Art Museum down in Miami, Florida. The Perez Art Museum is one of the leading modern and contemporary international museums in the United States. And they're really, really close to their mission statement, which is around supporting artists as well as creative innovation. And so we had an opportunity to leverage AR, and rather than use this in a traditional way or a way that it has been used previously, we saw this as an opportunity to use this new technology to influence and change the way that culture could be created from scratch, from the ground up, rather than reimagining existing visual and material culture. So using AR as a production tool in a museum context. So we had the opportunity to work with a well-known Miami-based artist named Felice Grodin, who creates a lot of these abstract pieces, these organic two-dimensional pieces that often explore the relationship that invasive species and climate change have in the world around us, but especially in Miami, which is a city on the water in a lot of ways. So we had the opportunity to work closely with the artist to create a series of works called Invasive Species. This is an example of one of the site-specific pieces called Mesbug, which was a reinterpretation of that two-dimensional kind of framework that you saw on the previous slide. And what was really interesting about this was it defied the scale, defied the budget, and it defied the workflow that an artist in a museum, when working on a new commission, would be able to encounter. So this was an iterative piece. It changed scale, it changed position, it changed color from the beginning to the end, and it took many different shapes and forms over its life. So this debuted several years ago. It was the first use of Apple's AR kit in history in the museum context. It was also the first ever museum exhibition in history that was solely AR based. It did not interact with existing culture. There were no physical objects. It was something that existed 100% in the virtual realm. And I'm really pleased to say that this work is still on display several years later because it does not have an expiration date. This work has toured various areas. It's been shown at other cultural institutions because it doesn't cost anything to ship. It has been reinterpreted by a commercial art fair in conjunction with the museum because it has the fluidity of digital behind it. And one of the exciting things, this was completely experimental, but it became one of the most written about augmented reality exhibitions of the year, with features in the New York Times, the Smithsonian, Blue Loop, the Art newspaper, as well as tech publications like VentureBeat and Apple Insider, because it really hit at this interesting moment in time where Apple AR Kit was being announced, when some of the early use cases and examples around Apple's AR Kit were beginning to emerge, and at the cusp of AR entering museums in a really significant way. So that work is Felice Grodin's Invasive Species. You can learn more about it at PAMM, Perez Art Museum, pam.org/AR. There's a lot of behind the scenes with the artists, the curators, the multitude of team members that collaborated to make that possible. Now shifting gears to historical culture, this is a little bit closer to home. It's not Krakow, but it's Vienna, so not too far away. This is a photograph of the famous Viennese painter and modernist Gustav Klimt. This is an interior shot of the Museum of Applied Art and Design in Vienna, also known as MAK, a museum that's kind of like the equivalent of a MoMA or a V&A, but over in Austria. And this is an image of Gustav Klimt, the famed piece, The Tree of Life, which sits behind a vitrine at the Museum of Applied Art and Design. This is just to give you an idea of its scale and its two-dimensional nature. We had the opportunity with the museum, the Pioneers Festival, which is one of the leading technology festivals and events in Europe that takes place in Vienna in the Imperial Hofburg Palace. We had an opportunity to give this historical work, about 100 years old, a new life, a new dimension, where people, tourists, attendees of this conference had the opportunity to plant the Tree of Life in various parks and gardens around the grand city of Vienna, thus giving the work a new dimension, a new scale, and a completely new way to experience this historical work. So I just wanted to juxtapose, new versus old, old versus new in this context. But moving into a completely different realm, I want to talk about a work called Hacking the Heist. This is a painting by the famous American painter John Singer Sargent of Isabella Stewart Gardner, one of the pioneering women in the American art collecting scene at the turn of the century. She was a well-known Bostonian. She was a pioneer in her own right, collecting work by some of the most prominent painters of the time. She built a Venetian-style palazzo in the center of the city of Boston, which is kind of an exotic oasis amongst the traditional architecture of the city. This is its courtyard. And about 30 years ago, two men dressed up like police officers broke into the museum, and over the course of about 80 minutes, stole about $500 million worth of artwork, making it the largest single art heist in the history of the world. So the works that they stole were the equivalent of, you know, The Lady with Ermine or the Young Raphael, works that the Czartoryski family housed and held in Krakow. So really significant works of art. And so as my team was exploring the new realities of ARKit, and ARKit 1.5 arrived and allowed for vertical surface detection as well as on-device image recognition, I was doing some research and experimentation at a nearby museum. One of my colleagues made the remark, it would be interesting if we could put the stolen art back in the frames. Those were his exact words. I kind of looked at him puzzled and then said, you know what, that's a technological challenge. And I'd be equally interested to see if that's possible, because we're talking about a space with extremely low light, no defined textures, and a really interesting challenge, to say the least. So lo and behold, you know, arriving at the museum, you can see that there are these empty, ghostly frames. Again, this is one of the most famous art heists in the world. They still don't know who the works are, but hopefully they will return to their rightful place in the years to come. So there's a Rembrandt and other such pieces that would have been in these frames. And what we did using ARKit is we were able to track and detect notable high contrast surfaces that were, you know, to the left and right of the piece, to overlay the painting in its frame with incredible accuracy. And so this became quite a story. It sparked a lot of conversations. We didn't know what to expect. But
hacking the
here's a little
heist.
news story.
Priceless pieces of artwork stolen from the Gardner Museum, placed back in their rightful frames. It's all thanks to virtual reality.
WBZ's Paula Evans live in studio now with the new way to view those stolen works, Paula.
This is so cool, Lisa.
So it sparked a local conversation. It sparked an international conversation. Because you are the VRAR Association, I'll point out that the newscaster said it was VR when we all know it's AR. It's all augmented reality. But this caused quite a splash and was written about in several hundred publications globally. There was a feature piece in Wired magazine about how augmented reality is transforming museums, where this was, you know, key focus. And as you can see here, this hasn't been updated in a couple of years, but this was the single most written about augmented reality project involving art or museums, published in, I don't know, maybe 40 different languages, TechCrunch, Time, Fast Company, New York Times, so on and so forth. A lot of visibility and a lot of conversations that we would not have expected about the, you know, who owns the virtual space? Can you augment the virtual space without permission? Can this be used to return lost, stolen, looted, or destroyed culture to the rightful place? What role does it play in repatriating art or bringing artworks back? So interesting, you know, tidbit about this. You know, I understand a lot of you are in Krakow, and a lot of works were looted from Poland's great national collections, national treasures from your museum, the Czartoryski family, the so on and so forth. And there's a famous work, Young Raphael, that to this day is not known, you know, its whereabouts are unknown. And so could this be used to temporarily bring a work like Young Raphael back to the public while it's still, you know, its location is unknown? So a lot of questions like that were spurred in the academic community, in the art world community, and beyond. And other experiments, and honestly, the experiments that inspired that previous work was around this idea: if we think of the world as a book, then augmented reality has this ability to be to the digital magnifying glass. We can amplify, you know, each note, each brushstroke, each, you know, element of an artwork. And so one of the first experiments that we jumped into was, can we recognize every single work of art in a museum, thus, you know, making the object label obsolete? making the object label that's historically in one single language available in every language. You know, and so those were some of the things that I personally was interested in that became a stepping stone to projects like Hacking the Heist. More recently, and Marcin Klimek was very helpful in this, so I want to give him a shout out. During the pandemic, as you know, most of us know, the world's museums temporarily shut their doors. The world temporarily shut down. And so at one point, I think it was like 95% of the world's museums were closed to the public. And so as a entrepreneur and as someone passionate about helping museums and cultural institutions, and also wanting to find a way to inspire all of us art lovers and all of us looking for inspiration while we're stuck at home, some technology that we had built purely for research and development, we thought it would be interesting to make it available to our partners and to the public at large to experience works in the comfort of their own home. And so we launched an app called Art Museum. And ultimately, what it does is it allows you to select a famous work of art or one in one of our partner collections and transport that to your own home, your kitchen, your living room, your bathroom, wherever you please, in the highest definition imaginable, where it's almost indistinguishable from the physical work. So here on the left, you see Edvard Munch's The Scream. In the center, or sorry, in the center you see The Scream. On the left, you see Van Gogh's Starry Night, and on the right, and this should be easy for my friends in Krakow, you see Leonardo da Vinci's Lady with Ermine, famous, internationally famous work, but household name in Polish culture. My wife, Elżbieta, sitting and admiring the work, as you can see here. So had a lot of fun working on that. Similarly, received a lot of praise in the media with write-ups in Fast Company, USA Today, ZDNet, Wired, Macworld, and a bunch of others. And it just shows, you know, there's a really interesting, people are intrigued by augmented reality, virtual reality, and the promise they hold for creative and artistic and cultural applications. And so we're really proud with what we've been able to create there. One of our brightest moments around this was when Apple reached out to say, hey, we're featuring your app as the app of the day. That went out to tens of millions across their social media channels, as well as being featured in multiple, I think a dozen some odd countries, you know, over several weeks and months. So really proud of what my team was able to do here, and really proud to have this featured by Apple. Couple quick things, you know, as I kind of head towards the conclusion here, because we're all talking about AR and VR, one of the conversations that comes up is this uncanny valley, this moment that we're living in. How good is AR and VR? How engaging is it? How valuable a tool? Experiencing Marcin as an avatar versus experiencing him in real life, experiencing a painting versus seeing it in real life. So we were really intrigued by this notion since the beginning of the company. What role does digital play in mediating the experience? What experience can I have? What reaction can I have when seeing a work remotely on a screen, on a device, so on and so forth? How realistic is AR today? And so these are conversations that we've all had about how does virtual compare to the real world, and it became even more relevant in this time where, you know, we exist as avatars, we exist as recreations, we exist as Zoom meetings, as pixels and streaming, you know, media, and everybody has an opinion on this, but that's all it is. It's just an opinion. So I have been wondering this for years and met a world-renowned neuroscientist from MIT halfway across the world as a conference. And in conversation with him, I realized, one, I'm talking to a neuroscientist. Previously, I didn't know any neuroscientists, but we would have an opportunity to produce empirical evidence about how the original compares to AR versus VR versus the 2D. And so we launched a study which ultimately became the neurological perceptions of art through augmented and virtual reality, the first of its kind, where we looked at, through using brain monitoring devices called EEGs, how the brain actually responds when looking at those works through different media, different channels. So that forced us to recreate these works of art in the highest definition possible, with photogrammetry, with recreations of brushstrokes of these highly ornamental frames for both the VR and AR environments. As you can see here, pretty realistic. This is through an Oculus Rift device through our demo phase. And so as you can see here, this is real live brain monitoring of people as they experience the work in real life as well as in a VR device. You'll see that people are in wheelchairs, and that is because the sensitive nature of the device is you need to guarantee that you're in a stationary fixed position and a controlled environment, just if you're curious. And that technology that we used for that experiment is what gave birth to the Art Museum app. So I think in a lot of ways you'll see here that little ideas, experimental prototypes have led to some really remarkable achievements and outcomes. And through this, we've gotten closer to works of art. And as you can see here, almost indistinguishable from if this artwork was physically there or if it's virtually there, based on just how sophisticated the technology has become. And dziękuję bardzo. I want to thank everybody for their interest in this topic. I want to thank the VRAR Association for inviting me to share with you just a couple thoughts and experiments that my team has been a part of. And thank you so much, Marcin, for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Brendan. It was very inspiring presentation. We saw some questions in the subject, mainly behind the neuroscience experiment you did with MIT. Can you actually share a bit more about how it actually happened? You know, with that research. So, like how did you came up with the idea of actually, you know, making that the report and then
so that's a great question, and I just shared the link to the actual study. Couple things I want to get off my chest. I'm not a neuroscientist. I've dropped out of college. I don't even have a college degree. I am naturally inspired by what's going on in the technological world, in the art and cultural world, and have surrounded myself by nature of being in many different places in many different worlds, you know, the importance of community. And so in Boston, I'm a stone's throw from the, you know, some of the leading researchers, universities, technologists, so on and so forth. And when I am curious about something, I don't just sit back and wonder. In the same way that, you know, Jakub and Łukasz at Estimote were curious about Internet of Things. They didn't sit back and wonder about this technology. They, you know, jumped to the forefront around iBeacon, just as it was in its nascent days. And so, you know, in a similar mindset, when I'm curious about something and I start piecing together the different components and people in reality, if I feel like that we can further the conversation, advance the conversation in a way that had never been done, you know, chances are I'm going to do it. And so there had been very little research done about the impact of technology on the art viewing experience. There have been some, there's been some research around AR and VR in the kind of the K through learning space that's been really favorable. There's been a number of studies specifically around education. There hadn't been neurological research about AR and VR. There had been research done about AR in the art viewing experience, but that was really augmenting the art with educational information. And the people who did that study were my team. So that study is out there from, I think, 2018. But I was invited to a conference in Austria, hosted by MIT, and it was looking at the impact of emerging technology on the art, culture, and creative kind of humanities, if you will. And so this neuroscientist, Dr. Pawan Sinha, who is a computational neuroscientist with a focus on vision, started asking a lot of questions. He was moderating a panel discussion that I was on, and then I had the opportunity to actually be kind of cabin mates with him. So we'd have breakfast every morning, and we would engage in these conversations, and it kind of dawned on me a lot of the things that he and I are thinking about, it's opinion, but the tools and the science would allow for actual evidence to be created. So I had all of these kind of ugly duckling ideas that I would jot down in my phone and then start fleshing out over time, just like the creation of my company, which started as a Google Doc with a couple ideas, and I fleshed them out in the evenings because that's what I do, or on weekends because that's what I do. I'm kind of obsessed with ideas and trying to get them as close to the finish line and seeing what lives and seeing what dies. And with this one, I decided I'm going to reach out to this neuroscientist, Pawan, see if he has any interest in the topic. As you know, we only casually talked about it, and he agreed to advise the research. And so I knew, okay, it's a viable thing worth exploring. Step 2, I need to hire neuroscientists. So I kind of led a search. I was on a train to New York City, and the internet was going in and out, so I couldn't do any really high quality, high bandwidth work. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of scour LinkedIn for Boston area neuroscientists that might be available for a study of this kind. So started reaching out and got really positive feedback. So I built a small team of these neuroscientists and then built out a study, had them build out the study, and then concurrently was working with a couple 3D designers and AR producers on various projects to kind of build out, convert files, get these into a working prototype, to put the pieces together. And then over the course of several months, the neuroscientists would bring individuals to the museum to conduct the study in a fully kind of process-oriented, randomized capacity, bring the raw data back, analyze that. But what I did not mention, and this is where the study becomes really interesting, is we didn't know what the outcome was going to be. I think in a lot of ways we thought on a scale of 100 to 0, the authentic original is 100. That is the control, like that is the standard. That's the gold standard. Seeing the painting is 100. Seeing in VR at this point is probably 90% of that. It's not 100% there. It's 90% of that. Seeing it in AR is maybe 70% of what seeing it in real life, and then seeing the two-dimensional JPEG is probably like 40. Does that make sense generally? Kind of like in terms of the quality of the experience or the authenticity of the experience or the stimulation of the experience. What the study found, and I encourage you to read the study. I hope if there's a neuroscience department at Jagiellonian and there's anybody on this call today, run a study and challenge the study and expand upon the study. But what the study found was that the AR and VR experience was not denigrated. It was on par in terms of how the brain responds to seeing the visual stimuli of the painting, was on par. And the thing that was really interesting was the people, when surveyed after the fact, because there was like several stages of the study, there was an overwhelming preference, or rather a higher sense of memory and recognition and recollection of works of art and what they contained in their color and size and scale from seeing it in AR, which was surprising. You would think that seeing the work in its authentic original state at the museum, you would remember more about it. You would remember, you know, where the sun was, or the color, or the stroke, the style, whatever. People showed a higher sense of recollection from the AR version. And I think a lot of that is because you can get, I don't know, you can see it in a different context, you can get closer, so on and so forth, in a way that you just can't do with the authentic original. So there are a lot of interesting components of that that challenged nearly 100-year-old philosophy. There's a great German philosopher on the topic of aesthetics named Walter Benjamin, who wrote a book, which is probably one of the most famous books on the topic of aesthetics, called Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction. And it was about what happens to a painting when it's photographed. Does that photographic reproduction diminish the aura of the piece, experiencing it in the spatial environment and knowing it's the authentic original? And so his theory was that the aura is lost and that the experience with that reproduction is denigrated, and we challenge that ideal using AR and VR. So these are just a couple ideas. Check out the study. Shoot me an email if you have any questions. My email is just brendan@qzam.com.
Yeah, I think, Brendan, you know, it was really great answer, and yeah, I think we should probably do another discussion on the, you know, on the way you actually approach the projects, because that was another very interesting components. But yeah, definitely, I think, you know, we can get back to that in the future. But right now we need to move to Marcin to actually, you know, keep the time on a good level. So yeah, it was a fantastic presentation. Thank you, Brendan, very much. And let me get a bit more comfy right now to actually invite our second speaker.
Oh, Marcin, you looks great.
Yeah,
I
matched
you. You looks better and better.
Yeah, so cool. Definitely. So Marcin is fantastic professional from Poland, mainly responsible for a number of projects in the film industry. So I think, you know, he'll share with you a lot of interesting projects he was working on in the past. So yeah, the stage is yours, Marcin. Good luck.
Thank you. Cool. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Marcin Łunkiewicz. I'm a producer, and my background is it's a film background, and I made a lot of commercials, TV commercials and video commercials, and a few shorts. One of them was Peter and the Wolf, which got an Oscar as a short animation movie. But since 2015, 15th, 16th, I decided to start working with technology, and we decided to work with VR in the company, our company. And we started to develop, of course, not a tech in the meaning of applications at the beginning, later, yes, but we started to think about how we can tell the story using cameras in VR. I mean, 360 cameras. And
so, sorry, Marcin, to interrupt, but I was just curious if you want to share the slides, because we can see your cam only. So
yes, I want to. Yes.
In a second, okay. I just, you know, hoped it. Okay.
Yeah, I will. Don't worry. I'm, you know, controlling the situation. And as a company, we decided to start working on storytelling in 360 video, because it was something similar to making a films, but on one hand, on the other hand, it was completely different, and we didn't understand it well, and in general, we didn't understand it. So right now, I would like to share, but I'm not sure what you can see. Oh, is it fine? Cool.
Yep, we can see it very well.
Great. So I will not tell a lot about how many projects we made. You can go to our website, mimo.000, and you will find out if you want to, but we made thousands of them. But what I want to tell today is the storytelling in cinematic VR, but in general in VR, because that's what I think about the story, that the story is is the most important part of every project. It doesn't matter, is it a virtual reality movie or film, or is it a video game, or it's a, you know, application for the mobile phone or whatever. The story is the most important part of the project, and if the story is well done, the project will be good. I mean, professors in the film school, when I was studying there like many years ago, there was one great sentence which I remember for all of my life. It was like, you can make a bad film when you got a good script. You will not do the good film when you have a bad script. So the script and the story is the most important at the very beginning. Today, I would like to tell you about the story, about the storytelling, directing, editing, production, and delivery. I'm not sure that I will be able to tell you everything because of time. And Marcin, if you can please tell me what time is it and how much time I have to the end, I will be very pleased. And so,
yeah, let's sorry. we'll keep you updated. Don't worry, and just
okay,
tell your story.
Cool. Story in 360. I mean, there are no clear answers that how it should be done. I mean, what we should do to tell the story in 360, and what is the most important thing for me, that the audience, the users will understand it, because this is very important. How to tell the story in the way that everybody or the most of the people will understand the same what I as a story maker want to tell, right? And there are no clean answers. We know everything about the movie making. We know everything about script writing. We know exactly how to do it. There are all, you know, software which help us to do it, and artificial intelligence is working on it, and we know a lot about it. But about 360, we know nothing. And when we started to working in 2016. We completely know nothing about it. But what I said before, everything starts with a good story. If you have a good story, you can make a good project. If not, sorry. Story in 360, this is completely new movie language. New movie language, it's some kind of technology, how you can tell the story in a film. And in the film, you can use editing, you can use acting, you can use the music, the sound background, the color correction, and there are there are pipelines which you can use, and we know exactly how to tell the story. But in the 360 video, the storytelling and the movie language is completely new. On one hand, we can't do edit like we do in the movies. I mean. Imagine, yeah, later, because I have another slide about it. The induction of emotions is the primary task of every artist. Of course, it's true, and that's what VR is doing the best, is the induction of the emotions. It's very easy to the artist to build emotions in VR, especially very simple emotions like a fear, like happiness or something like this. It's quite easy to induct this emotion in the VR. It's easier than in traditional media like television or cinema. One-on-one with a star. It's very funny, because when we produced our series, 360 series, PNDP, Para Nie do Pary, this is Mismatched in English, that was series with the famous Polish actors. The audience, when we researched it, the audience told us, especially ladies, of course, 70% of them, they were watching only the main star, the actor, which is famous in Poland, and they were watching it for 70% of the experience in VR, right? So they spent they were watching movie the 360, watching one side, only the star, and was quite funny. And the last one part of the story 360 is hippocamp. I mean, this is the oldest part of our brain, and VR is changing it much more than any other media which humankind discovered in the past. I mean, and it's very important for every VR maker, for every artist or every developer who is working on VR. It's very important to understand it, that we need to work on the technology with feeling that we can do something wrong to the other people if we will use it in the wrong way. That's why I'm speaking about the hippocampus. It's important for me too. Okay, so we made the first in the world series in 360 video. That was in English. It's Mismatched. Unfortunately, the series was done only in Polish, and we produced it in 2016, and we distributed in the one of the biggest VOD platform in Poland. It's called Player.pl. Right now, it's a Discovery, part of this Discovery Corporation. And what's important, that was full professional film production done in 360. And for the reason of the series, we built a camera. For the reason of the series, we built the pipeline of post-production. For the reason of the series, yeah, we made a lot of technical parts of the pipeline to make this series. And then right now I would like to show you, I'm not sure it will work well, making of. Cool. Okay, so we made a comedy about love and fight. Main characters were Maya and Simon. They were a couple. We made 5 episodes. Every episode was around 5 minutes, and in traditional, and we tell traditional story in completely new form. What is important that we produce not 5 episodes but 7, but 2 of them we cannot distribute because they were they wasn't ready. Okay, storytelling first, the most important part of the story. We had 7 scripts, and we were working 3 months of them. Every script was 5 minutes, and I think that was 8 script writers working on them. And imagine that there was only like 30 minutes of content we made in 360. But we spent a lot of time to work on it because, you know, what I was afraid as a producer, that people don't understand the story in this completely new way. You need to remember that we distribute the series in 2016, and there was no goggles on the market. I mean, there were some of them, of course, yes, but it was the beginning in 2016. The market, I mean, the HTC and the Oculus started to sell the Vive. I think that was first Vive and Rift or something, doesn't matter. And most of our users, they were watching our series on the mobile phones and the desktops. So they were moving with the phones, or they were touching the screen, navigate on the screen, moving all around the camera, I mean the view of what they can see on the mobile phones. So I was afraid that people will not understand what we want to tell them if we're going to start the editing in the traditional way as usual we did in the movies or commercials. I was afraid of it, and that's why we decided to make the history as simple as possible. I mean, we decided not to move the camera and move the action all around the camera. And we decided to make a large background. I mean, and what's that mean? The simplicity of the history. We decided that the history should be simple as possible, and it should be understood even without a screen, without a picture, almost like in the radio. So we gave a lot of information to the viewer in the sound, and the dialogues were very simple, and the story were very simple. Action around the camera, that means that we decided that we will not move the camera because we were afraid of the moving, of the post-production of the moving of the camera, and understanding of our audience. And that's why we decided that actors and the action will move around the camera, and the camera will stand in the one place only. And the large background, it's quite funny situation because when we were watching the tests and everything on the goggles, the background was very large. I mean, when you have a goggles, you feel that you are inside between the actors, and there is a lot of space on the background. And we decided that we're going to build a large background, that we're going to give the audience everything what we have. And that's why we decided to make third and the second and the third even story in the background while the users were watching the first story, which actors were acting at the same time. And the scene with the young girls, very nice ones, that was the one of the story. And there was a lot of actors there too, and there was a lot of different stories which were told at the same time. And there was episode which we shot in the TV studio, and the second episode which were under the table when there was a wedding of our couple. And you saw that there was the completely white situation there, that where the background was very flat, and they were sitting under the table all of them actors, and etc., etc. And we were thinking at the beginning that the episode under the table, it will be the worst one. I mean, the people will doesn't like it very much. And when we researched it before the premiere, but after the shooting, that was very strange for us, because people told us, I mean, and we made real professional research on them. They told us that they doesn't like when it's a lot of stuff all around them. I mean, they like to be they like to see only the story which is main, and they doesn't want to have a lot of stuff in the background. So that means for me that even in not 360 video, but in any other projects like applications or games, in the VR, we doesn't need to put a lot of stuff in the background right now. So it doesn't mean that it will be much better for the audience. As you can see, we had many monitors on the set, because we had the cameras which we build the set of the cameras. I will tell it later. I don't want to tell it right now. But the editing and the directing, this is important situation here. What does mean? In traditional movie making situation, that means that there is a director who is directing on the set, but before that we have some kind of drawings which gave us the view how the film will look like. And the director know exactly, maybe not exactly, but know in general how the shoot should look like. And he's shooting it, that the actors are acting in the way he wants to, of course, etc. And then we edit in the traditional way, well, normally. But in 360, the situation was changed, because we cannot edit as in the traditional movie making process. I mean, what's that mean? We cannot edit. We were filming scenes, not the shots, and that was first strange situation for us, because after tests we got the information that when we put the camera in one place, 360 camera in one place, and the viewer is, and we start to do something to show that the time is moving very fast, that some people are going out, some people are coming, but the camera is still in the same place, that viewer will understand it and there is no problem. But when we move the camera 1 meter somewhere else, we need to give to the audience, to the viewer, around minimum 10 seconds to understand what was happening and when he is right now and what's going on all around him. So that was completely something new for us. We didn't understand it, and it's very important for every VR maker to know that. Another thing that was the master shots. We made every episode one master. It was a master shot. I mean, what does that mean? That means that the camera were in one place, and we had prepared all actors, all set, all light, and everyone on the set, that we're going to shoot 5 minutes shot. And it's not normal in the filmmaking. In the film, we are doing shots for a few seconds, for half of the minute or something like this. But this time we shot like 5 minutes shots, and that's why it's called master shot. And it was some kind of working on the set like in the theater, that everybody was well prepared before the scene. And of course, it helped us very much we didn't have to edit anything then. Intake, edit, or acting in is an editing. What does that mean? That if the actor is moving all around the camera and he's going closer to the camera, it's some kind of editing, like I'm doing here right now. And we decided to use this kind of editing. It's called intake edit, and it's normal kind of editing in the film. But we decided to use only this kind of edit. So actors were moving closer or further from the camera and around the camera, and we have all prepared before. We know exactly where, when, who will stand and how it will looks like. So we made this kind of editing, and it works well. Yeah, I like it very much. So this is the camera we made. We combined together 4 camera Sony f7, f7, and that's why, because we didn't have a gene lock. I mean, we didn't have a solution to see the 360 panoramic video on the set. That's why we needed to have 4 monitors for every camera, and we were 3 or 4 of us were sitting and watching. Everyone has his own monitor which he was watching and deciding if it was okay. Was it okay, the shot, or not? And that was quite funny. We built this camera because that was the problem with the sensitivity of the lenses and the matrices. And because we would like to have a full post-production process with color correction, and we need to have the better resolution and better sensitivity. That's why we decided to use these cameras, not GoPros. And there wasn't any Fusion or something like this, which are ready right now. So we had this solution. 360 camera, as I said, of course, everything depends. One of episodes we made, that was one episode which was in a car. We was shooting on our camera, and at the end we cannot use it, unfortunately. And we got this information on the post-production when we was done with the shooting, right? And because lenses were too close to actors and we cannot see their legs, they generally, I mean, feet. And there was a problem for us how to build a panoramic video when you cannot see the feet of the actors when they are sitting around the camera. And we cannot use use this episode. But fortunately, we were shooting 7, and we need only 5. But of course, there were solutions like yeah, but that doesn't matter right now. Light. This is funny, because on the set, when you are lighting, when you are putting somewhere lights in 360, you can see it. So we decided to remove everything in post-production. I mean, we prepared set we prepared set that everything were possible to remove in the. Yeah, Marcin, should I finish or something?
If you can get closer to the end, that would be great.
I will.
Perfect. Thanks.
A few minutes, okay. So lighting. So we decided to remove lighting in the post-production, and we did it. That was quite funny at the end, because people saw lights, but there was no the lightings, and the set design. It was 360, so it's completely different than usual, and it was 4 times more work for the set designers and all stuff which we had on the set. Yeah, Marcin. So here you can see some shots we made, and that's it. Thank you very much. It was really nice to be here.
Fantastic.
If you have any questions? Almost 15.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that was great. And actually, it's amazing to see the work that you did actually when the hardware wasn't just there yet. As you can see, I can wear headsets actually, with just AR. So I don't need any particular equipment and no cables. So yeah, but definitely the speed of the market was actually, from that time, last few years were crazy. And
yeah, but what is very important, Marcin, the storytelling is the same. It's not different.
Yeah.
I mean, technology is different, of course, and I'm waiting for I'm doing new technologies, as you know, right? We built a VR chart world together with Marta and Jagoda. Hopefully they will tell us something about it. But but the storytelling is the same. It's not different. I mean, the story is the most important. We can talk about technology, we can talk about AR, VR, XR, whatever. But if there is no story there, I think it's not enough for me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think that didn't change for ages. So absolutely, if you know how to tell story well, the medium doesn't matter. It's always engaging. Thanks.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you very much,
you.
Martin. It was a pleasure to have you together with us.
Bye.
Bye bye. And right now we switch to Marta and Jagoda. Girls are actually artists that are working with VR and AR technology. I believe they will show you exciting stuff they are working on, and the work that they do is really amazing. So the stage is yours, girls. I won't make it longer. Have a great time and great presentation. Good luck.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Nice to meet you. Yes, our presentation will be like click AV performance around our links and works. So I hope everyone gonna lost in it. So maybe let's start.
Yeah. So we are Eternal Engine. We are art duo, kind of digital witches and cyber fairies of the technoculture. Kind of post-internet art and new media nomads. We are smoothly moving into the xeno-glitch cyber feminism discourse, what is really important in our activities. We are 3D designers and programmers of the virtual world, creators of multiplayer and multisensory experiences in virtual reality and 3D animation. We are kind of fighters of open source and free learning because it's really important for us. We are inspired by life forms such as eukaryotes, especially insects, fungi, and bacteria. In our works, we express the idea of completely automated space of freedom in which, beyond gender categories, we combine in the form of enriched with cybernetic organs and hybrids with a fluid identity in fully bioaugmented queer future. We try to be active on the real platform as cyber feminists. We organize meetings and 3D workshops on creating own virtual spaces. And it's important for us to collaborate on the art platform because it's really close to the rhizome structure. This structure, which is a metaphor of both the decentralized system, which well is to illustrate the development of the technology, it's also for us the symbol of connections, what we create.
All this, it's important, all these things, what we show right now, it's created in the Unity engine. We actually doesn't render it in Blender or in Cinema 4D. We are always creating a virtual space for all these renders. And we also use it like a VR, like in here, it's part of our installation. So important for us is this generative thing in our works. We can show you right now one of our VR installation, VR multiplayer installation called Body Open Source. We've done it, we made this installation 2 years ago actually, and it's installation for 4 headsets, for HTC Vive headset and 4 participants.
Yeah, it's important for us. It's the issue of virtuality. It's kind of intimacy, which we can feel crossing border of real space. So the extra sense, it was a kind of multi-user experience for headsets in virtual reality, which touched the subject of intimacy and crossing these borders of corporeality. Yes, we made it using the Unity engine. And the main issue of this platform, it was that the work is the theme of the network, and it's kind of structure which let us collaborate with other and trying to cross kind of intimacy borders.
It's actually a recording from the two people being in this installation in the one time in one real space and in virtual space.
Yeah, it's kind of a form of collective exploration on the platform of kind of pleasure. I don't know, it's kind maybe sometimes kind of pleasure, sometimes we try to get to know what this person is. And actually when you jump into the avatar body, you can go out from your real identity and go out from, I don't know, all borders which are around you in real space. So it's really interesting kind of experiment, what we feel and how we feel when we collaborate as avatars and touching together this pleasure platform. So
yeah, here is the recording from 4 people in one time in this installation, and the server was totally, we built server from scratch, and also full application is made on Unity and Unit.
yeah, the most important questions for us, it was what the real body is and where the real body end and the virtual body begin. It's yeah, it's really
because we observed that all this process, all these people inside this installation, and it was like totally interesting that when you have this avatar body, even in real space, you start interact in totally new way with others. You feel more free. You start to touch each other as an avatar, and you don't have any borders. So this installation is also about love, I think.
yeah, for sure, about intimacy. And really important fact, it was that these 4 people was in the real space and virtual space in the same time. So their position, because of trackers, was the same in real space and virtual. It wasn't the kind of word for exploration. It was focused on the bodies. And the gender issue was also important because this avatar's body was kind of fluid gender. They don't have a gender. So there in virtual space, it's a great place to go out from all gender categories, and it lets you feel like free.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the next next installation, what we're gonna talk, it's our first project ever. From this project, from the Not Found Structure of Digital Freedom, this project started our duo actually, and it's funny story behind this installation because it's installation for 20 headsets, Google Cardboards, and we've done it for totally no budget. We just collect phones from our friends to do this performance for these 20 people, and it was totally experimental for us. It was 2017 or 2016 in one theater.
2016.
We invite our friend, which is a performance artist, to make some ritual, like going from the real world to the virtual world. And work was about new land, about something like losing country of all of 3 people. it was a little bit anarchistic project, maybe.
Yeah, we're trying to create kind of tribe because
Yes.
of this special issue of multiplayer that it let us create kind of collective society which begin new life in the virtual land. And it was really, I think, post-romantic, kind of post-romantic installation, and this kind of idea. Here we've got Justyna, which was a performer, and she was kind of shaman opening this virtual platform in reality. And the next part, it was jumping into with cardboard, jumping into the virtual space and exploring together this land. Yeah, so there was it wasn't like really complicity word. It was kind of land with empty horizon and space open for everything there.
Yeah, and also it's a multiplayer work. Also, server was built from scratch with Jagoda and with Maciej, who was a programmer, and also Maciej designed a special kind of walking, because we had a really big problem before the performance, before one day before the premiere of performance, and the problem is our Bluetooth these pilots just didn't work. So what to do, how these people can work? So we just designed in one night walking based on acceleration of the phone. So when you just when you're walking, your head is moving, so you just moving in the virtual space.
Yeah. There we've got a huge totem, which is a kind of symbol of this new land.
Yeah, and it was totally our first project. So the graphic is like, of course we love it, but it looks like our first project. Yeah. So this is all these people, and yeah.
Yeah, I like in this work that we can feel there that everything can happen. Like,
Yes.
yeah, it was important for us that it was kind of question how much the virtuality is a space for continuation our dreams in reality. So yeah, and it's also based on the rhythm structure, whereas the multiplayer, it's a great metaphor of it. So it's also important.
Yeah, and it was for us like super great to just feel these other people together in this virtual space. It was for us the common thing, the thing what this multiplayer actually, it's a thing which which really inspired us, like being in the same place with other people and being in this avatar body, creating new land together.
Yeah. So
yes.
Really shamanic, cyber shamanic.
Yes. So it's our work from 2017, and right now what we are doing, we little bit stopped doing VR just because of the pandemic, actually, because normally we have our headset and we share it like to our friend, we give it to the galleries, etc. And right now it's like it is. So we start doing more things like animations, like videos, like video arts, and we just quickly show you our videos, like music videos, and everything is done in Unity engine. So everything can be a game, can be a VR also. And we just develop right now a little bit more our own aesthetics, which is a little bit, we wanna make it a little bit spiritual, a little bit mystic. We are inspired.
Yeah. It's a lot of cyber shamanic and witchcraft, kind of witchcraft stuff. But we experiment all the time our aesthetic, and it's important for us to develop it. And
also the term of digital folklore. It's important for us, like, you know, using things that actually normally designers didn't use. For example, like, you know, the circus here, like something is bad cutting or etc.
Yeah, playing with this kind of connections and
and the image
aesthetic is also important for us. It's like you can open your head for new ideas because of it.
Yeah, and our video art, like, yeah, we have amazing cooperation this year with a curator from Museum of Modern Art, Natalia Szelewicz, and we've done together 20 minutes length video essay for the Museum of Modern Art in Warsaw about the heat and how heat how heat influence our bodies from this capitalistic side, like how the heat is connection with the capitalism. I will show the trailer.
Yeah, it's also about capitalism, which is...
Zamiary kapitału mogą być zimne i wyrachowane, ale technologia zawsze jest gorąca, bo w końcu tu chodzi o kalory, energię i ciepło. Nazwijmy to zarządzaniem ciepłem.
Yeah, this is the trailer, and we can show you some fragments also from also Marcin, if we talking too much, or I mean if our time is near to end, you can let us know.
Yeah, I think, you know, we can have like 2-3 more minutes, but yeah, definitely it's very inspiring, but we need to keep the schedule.
Okay, so maybe little bit.
Yeah,
you know, all these works actually, maybe it's good idea just to show you where you can find this works. Like, it's our Vimeo, Eternal Engine. Here is the full this video performance. What I'm talking is here. Here's the teaser. Here's also our another 30 minutes length animation, and our Instagram, etc.
Yeah, it's a lot of links, but the information it's a kind of visual essay, our only visual essay. So it's like, yeah, this, I think the narration which we create with Natalia Szelewicz is really interesting stuff because of post-COVID aesthetic.
And really the main thing what we forgot to say, like, actually we create with Marcin, who also is to speak a few minutes before us. Like, we create this year a virtual space in VRChat because in Poland right now it's a huge protest of women against the anti-abortion law. And we together with Marcin, together with Oskar Sadowski, the director, we create in VRChat the space for women strike, and we start sharing the knowledge about strike with other users of VRChat, and it's our actually right now right now we're working more on this space. You are welcome. Feel free to welcome. We're gonna have an event next month, some rave for the Women's Strike Poland in VRChat. So feel free to come. All information we're gonna share in the Virtual Revolution fan page, and also on our fan page, Eternal Engine.
So, yeah, it's really important for us because it's a huge feedback for the situation of women in Poland. So it's amazing that on this international platform we can connect in virtual space. So it would be nice to see you there. Nice.
Yeah, so thank you so much.
This presentation. Thank you for the presentation and your time for us. Yeah.
Marta, Jagoda, thank you very much for a very inspiring presentation and great visuals. I think your presentation was very well balanced comparing to the previous one.
where we've been trying to record or recreate the reality with the virtual elements. In here we can realize that technically we are not limited to the world we are living in and the reality we are living in. So we can do anything we want and redefine the world we are living in many different ways. So with immersive technologies, as you can see, the magic is in our hands. So thank you very much again. And right now, let me introduce Chris Wróbel. Chris is going to tell us about the virtual beings. So the creatures that are actually using the virtual reality to create themselves. Chris, apart from being president of the VRARA Association Poland, he's also personally running his own startup called Verb. I hope you will like his presentation and all the information about the virtual being. So Chris, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Welcome, and today I would like to tell you about virtual beings, or something like very catchy is like actually saying goodbye to chatbots and like welcoming virtual beings as a future for automated communication. So yeah, as Marcin said, I'm part of a VRARA association, but privately I'm currently doing my own startup called Verb. And basically Verb is a platform on which it's easy to launch your own virtual being. And as you can imagine, like chatbots are already a thing, but once you add something on top of chatbot, which is like once you add an avatar, 3D model with interactivity, then that's something that becomes a virtual being. And one of the aspects of virtual beings is like basically you can automate virtual being, and it's like automated chatbot, but you can also embody an avatar. That's why currently I'm showing on the slide 3 versions of myself. So you already met my real version, but soon you will meet 2 other versions of mine, the other which are used in VR, but that comes later. So why even bother with chatbots? Probably you all know that the average attention span becomes lower. People are more distracted, and it's not currently at the level of a goldfish, where it's actually like businesses have 8 seconds, or if you want to communicate something to the mass market, you have an average 8 seconds until someone loses an attention. There's a lot of study about that, and basically the general tendency, people prefer now video, something interactive, instead of just text. And obviously it's like when you communicate the message, you want to make sure that important messages makes to the customer. And basically try to ask yourself, the slide that you just seen, what did you remember from it? Whether was it the video, like the image that took your attention, or rather all the text that are there? And that's basically a problem, because we live in a society where it's actually, we as society, people, we demand services to be available 24/7. And you've probably already seen chatbots here and there. They are great in customer support. More and more companies are using those pop-ups on their website, but still it's not natural for us. So basically, most of us still prefer talk to real person. So the problems are like real people are not there for us all the time. They are not there for 24/7. They basically work 8 hours per day, in one location at a time. Or even if it's a Zoom, right? But it's still in one location at the current moment. They take holidays and have bad days. And virtual beings, like thinking as a concept where you can actually create an artificial intelligence, conversational AI, something that can communicate with others on a mass scale, that's something which scales easily and is very promising for both probably mass market, businesses, and everyone. So basically I will try to, over the presentation, I would just try to tell you why it's high time for virtual beings. But before that, imagine this. I told you about chatbots, and virtual beings obviously can be another level of chatbots, so something that you can put on your website. But try to think, is it possible actually to put chatbot in a physical location, in a gym or in a hotel? That's something which is perfect for virtual beings, something which we as a humans tend to perceive as something that we can communicate with. It's not very natural that we can talk to the chatbot. It's something that we need to learn. But if we see other human being, that's something when we already start thinking, okay, this is someone that I can talk to. And that the same goes for virtual beings. And basically, virtual beings can, in that way, like when chatbots, where chatbots have limitations, so they are not very innate for any kind of business, then virtual beings are. Like basically, virtual beings can be there where regular humans are already working, which is pretty much everywhere. And so now, what makes a virtual being? I already told you, but just to put it into the structure. So first thing is like you have to have a 3D model. Once you have a 3D model, then you need to have something. I'm not sure if you can also hear an audio. Then you need to add an interactivity. And girls before, they just mentioned Unity. There are other engines that you can use to basically animate your model in a real-time way. So basically, usually you have to have a game engine if you want to have a real-time interactive virtual being. And the last part of this is conversational AI. So basically chatbots. So something that can understand the human intent and can output another, like a message to the user. And so this is like a core. This is what gives a virtual being an intelligence. But then you also need to add speech to text and text to speech, something that can basically understand the voice and something that can produce an audio. So there are many ways currently to create a virtual being. So there are many solutions where you can create your own customized virtual model. Character Creator is one of the program that we are using in our company, because this gives you the flexibility. That's a screen from there. So you can basically create a photorealistic avatar. So you can just like input your photo, and then you can tweak things around, and you can get like almost photorealistic representation, 3D representation of yourself. But there are other much simpler ways. So one of the great tools that we, and Marcin actually, I think that he used the Wolf 3D to create all the avatars in the background cover of the event. So Wolf 3D is something that you can basically Google search right now. And then that's something where you can create your own interactive web-based virtual avatar. So once you have that, you need to input it somewhere. And there are many game engines. Two, I think, that are worth mentioning are Unity. We are using it. Girls were using it. Many people are using Unity because it's really easy to work with AR in VR in Unity. And the other one is Unreal Engine. And Unreal Engine recently showed amazing progress when it comes to photorealistic rendering. It's called MetaGen Humans. And that's something that they will probably release in the next year, where you will be able to create photorealistic real-time avatar and animate it and give it create an interactivity there. And the last part is conversational AI, so basically chatbots. And free worth mentioning, that we are working with is Dialogflow, pretty easy to start with, Amazon Lex, and VRARA. VRARA is open source. So the third one, that's specifically the one that we are using, because that's something that you can run on your own server and customize it any way you want. Okay, so now let me try to switch to other computer.
Hello again from the virtual stage. Due to pandemic, this is the setup we are using to demonstrate our vision. So first part of the mentioned omnichannel is the web, where a virtual being is waiting in the website's corner to navigate and assist your clients. Secondly, a virtual being can be launched on this kind of interactive kiosk, so he or she, they can greet your customers. Last but not least, you can also meet with a virtual being in a digital space. Hello, Rika, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Are you human?
Kind of. Actually, a digital one. Thanks for asking.
And this is the setup you can also use to generate engaging video content for social media. And since we launched 3 months ago and we are still understaffed, for now we multiply ourselves with our digital doubles so they can work alongside us.
Yeah, and I think that that's the great thing of actually showing that yeah, we can easily create any kind of world we want, but the world itself is the one thing, but then another aspect of it is filling it with people. And of course, there's a number of companies on the market right now trying to approach that, with Facebook at front, actually trying to go that way with Horizon. But what's very inspiring in the virtual beings and the approach that Verb is taking is actually the thing that space can be also filled with the virtual, like puppets or some kind of like living things, but digital ones that can also like enrich our everyday environment, help us. We have a huge demand of assistants like Siri or Alexa or any other. But I think that maybe you can also say something about that, Chris, later on. But definitely, like, I think we are approaching the time that they can get a body and actually be among us, being visual, and interact with us in some ways. So yeah, that's very inspiring.
Yeah, exactly right. Thanks, Marcin, for filling in. It's tricky. That's what I tried to say at the beginning, that it's really hard to try to express what you are trying to do, especially with immersive technology over Zoom. I hope that most of you already have your own VR headset, so probably you know what I'm talking about. It's totally different if you are in a 3D space, embodied and like immersed into the virtual space, and if you try to just basically put it on 2D screen. So just to Marcin, if I'm taking too long, then I will just I will try to wrap up. But if we still have time, I can give you some also insights into virtual beings, what kind of virtual beings there are. And
yes, so I think we can spend like 3 additional minutes till okay. 6. So yeah, feel free to just finish at 6, and I think that should be nice.
So basically, you saw the stylized version of Avatar, but we have different kind of virtual beings at the moment, or digital types of virtual beings that you can create. So obviously there are photorealistic ones. They are pretty convincing, and you probably saw that already. So something that really actually looks like a video, although it's rendered by a computer, not ever recorded. And the other one is a stylized. And I think the distinction is really important because there is something called uncanny valley when it comes to creating virtual beings. So if we try to approach this photorealisticity, whatever. So if you try to create a photorealistic virtual beings, then human will tend to perceive it as uncanny. So they will feel that something is off. We are, throughout the years, we are perceived to basically identify all those micro expressions on our faces. So we are really very skilled in identifying when something is fake. And that's what the uncanny valley is all about. And that's something that every specialist in virtual being domain are not trying to basically approach and find a golden solution for that. And obviously there are different ways to create a virtual being. So what I showed you before, this is something which we render inside the game engine. But some say that the virtual being can also be created in a deepfake way. So basically, if you have a video of a person already recorded somewhere, and then you just substitute the face and the voice of the other human being. That's how you can basically create a virtual being. And I will show you the example of virtual influencer that uses this kind of technique to produce virtual being content. And the other is obviously already mentioned 3D rendering, real-time 3D rendering. And the last thing that I will tell you about today about virtual beings is there is a big trend coming. There are virtual influencers and virtual YouTubers, VTubers, that are already producing content in social media, specifically on Instagram.
Lil Miquela is one of the most famous virtual beings and virtual influencers, or with over, I think Lil Miquela have over 2 million followers at the moment on Instagram. And that's the Lil Miquela case. This is something which is produced with this deepfake technique. So there is a real human model that basically poses for photos like in all those videos, but there is a whole team behind this that is basically creating this kind of deepfake content. So they created this kind of like artificial persona, and they basically put their virtual face on the real photorealistic videos. So that's a pretty crazy example of how you can basically use virtual being techniques to create a virtual influencer, combining 3D rendering with real photo and video production. Yeah, or even more. There is a 3 million followers on Instagram and 250,000 followers on YouTube for Lil Miquela. Another interesting example is Angel AI. She is mostly a VTuber, so producing content on YouTube, because she is using basically Unreal Engine, and she's producing all the content on YouTube with Unreal Engine. She uses like a motion capture sensor suit. She uses iPhone for capturing the facial expression. And that's something that basically is enough to produce an interesting kind of content that you can put on YouTube. And this is pretty significant. AI Angel has almost 1 million followers on YouTube already, a little bit less on Instagram, but I think that the medium is different. So what AI Angel is producing is more like a social kind of content where she's very interactive with audience on YouTube in real time, where Lil Miquela is something like a virtual influencer where people tend to aspire to be. And we also created our own virtual influencer called Rika. We're not as successful as all the other mentioned before, but well, we will see. Maybe that's something that we'll eventually also will be able to produce more interesting content with once we also develop the technology for that. But the other important aspect about Rika is that we are able to use her, since she's rendered in Unity, we are able to both create like a content for social media, as use her in real-time scenarios on Zoom. You already saw my digital version like a minute before, like a transmission from VR space. So there are many ways you can basically combine now both mediums and humans with virtual beings, virtual avatars, embody yourself as a virtual avatar. There are many ways to mix the techniques to produce a content and to basically tell the immersive story. Is that a big thing? Okay, Marcin, I think that's enough because I already took too much time. Basically, it is a big thing. All the markets related to conversational AI, virtual beings, that's something which is on the rise. So if you have a chance, if it's something that's interesting to you, that's definitely something that you should try to basically understand more. Or if you have any more questions, just basically hit me over email or find me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer all your questions. If we have time still, then I'm also happy to answer all of them. Maybe not all of them, but some of them now.
As you can see, I downgraded my graphics to avoid Uncanny Valley, so I can work with that avatar now. Yeah, but in terms of the virtual beings, definitely there is something there. The space is growing, and I think looking at the market, we can clearly see that they are here to stay. The advancement of the technology, the tracking solutions, the performance of game engines is actually allowing us to create amazing visuals and amazing interactive content right now. So it's with the examples you just showed, yeah, I think it's very, very compelling to see this kind of content. And what I see is that also it's very interesting for Gen Z and in general the younger people that are watching that content, because it's apart from something a bit different, it's also very new, and it's not following the previous rules that were prepared for the regular video content creators. So it is very interesting. It's very interesting to see and observe the market movement in that area. and I hope more of you will find it fascinating. So thank you very much again. Thank you very much to all our speakers today. So Brendan, Marta, Jagoda, Marcin, and Chris, thank you very much once again. It was great to see so many people in the audience, so thank you very much for coming today. And right now, maybe let's try to wrap up the event.
Like Marcin, if I can jump in. So
Sure.
VRAR Poland chapter, this is something that we reinvented at the end of last year. So that's something that we will basically, that's our second event since the time. And we hope to improve both the content and both the quality of the tools that we are using, right? So hopefully in the next months, we will be able to also invite you to be part of this. But if, in any case, if you are a VR AR specialist, a startup, a company, and you are looking for a way to bridge between Polish market and other markets, so basically we collaborate with chapters all around the world. So if you join the association, you will join also our chapter, or if you will join our chapter, then that's something that we will do our best to connect you with other enthusiasts from other countries. So that's something, you know, like if you ever, besides our local events, if you're ever interested in using VR AR Association as your jumping platform for your next venture, next business, next idea, then also like find me on LinkedIn, Marcin. There is also Kamila Kowalska, who is part of our organizational team, and Kuba Kamiński. So any one of us will be able to answer all the questions. So I don't know if you want to add something to this, Marcin.
Thanks, Chris. I think with that summary of the VRARA Association approach to the market and its goals, we can safely close the event and wrap up. So thank you very much to all the people that joined us today. I hope to see you next time. We'll keep you posted on the next event, so stay tuned with that. And for all the people that are curious how I'm making the avatars I'm using today and changing my visuals, I can guide you to the software called Snap Camera. That's a really great app that is running on PC and Mac, and you can use it to like create a virtual camera and change your visuals, or in the events like this, or even in some Zoom calls or Skype calls. So yeah, so that's just a bonus at the end. Okay, so thank you very much. Have a great day, great evening, and see you all next time. Bye bye.